So this is the final Epstein video where we're going to conclude the connections between Jeffrey Epstein and Jehovah's Witnesses, but this time we're just going to focus on the similarities of what we lived physically as Jehovah's Witnesses and how it's the same, you could say, playbook as Jeffrey Epstein. So it shouldn't really be a surprise to anybody that there is a connection. And remember, the actual name Watchtower is literally in the Epstein files. But anyway, to conclude with this final installment of Jehovah's Witnesses or Epstein connected to Watchtower, I decided to bring on one of my favorite guests who's been on my show probably more than any other person, and that's Ruby Quinn. And I wanted to bring her on because she's dealt with seeing physical CSA cover-ups. And
Mhm.
she's one of the few channels that, again, is not afraid to talk about these issues. And I understand that this type of stuff is not for everybody. It does take courage to talk about this type of stuff. But the thing is that even bigger channels that don't want to talk about this stuff, you could always share links and share the information to those smaller channels that are trying to put this information out. But the reason that I'm so passionate about wanting to push this information out is because I know that it would shut this organization down. Like people want to have Epstein's head on a platter, right? Like if he really
Mhm.
is dead, like people are hoping that he's alive because they want to kill him. They don't want him to off himself like we were told he did, which he may be alive anyway. But
Mhm.
basically, if the American citizens really understood what Watchtower is, they would like send a lynch mob to Bethel. That's why I'm so passionate about like wanting to get this information out. But anyway, sorry I didn't mean to ramble on like that, but thank you, Ruby, for coming on my show and helping me conclude this connection between Watchtower and Epstein. I'll just give you the floor.
Okay, awesome. So thank you for having me, Quinn. It's actually one of the videos that you did recently when you covered the Selena interviews. That's what made me realize that this channel is like serious about exposing stuff. I say it on my channel all the time that you're one of my favorite YouTubers because of the exposure that you give when you see all these hidden signs and symbols. I like that because I don't like when people cover things up or try to hide stuff when we know what they're doing, right? So I'm glad that you kind of chose me to compare this stuff because you guys already know I do a lot of the political conversations on my channel, right? And Jimmy has been one of those other people in my community that sees the same stuff we see, but just in the political sense, right? So when we talk about that playbook phrase or the deep state phrase, I think the organization is just the exact same thing, but they disguise themselves under a religion, right? So we see that politically with the government, and we're going to see the exact same thing disguised as a religion. But this is the major distinctions that I make. I do not call the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses a religion. I call it a cult. I don't know if you use that phrase. I don't know if you're comfortable with that or not, but I don't call them a religion. I don't call them Christians. I say that they are a cult. Okay.
Can I jump
So
in
I'm
real
a,
quick? I just
yes,
want to
please,
say
because,
so I do
uh
call
huh.
it a cult, but
Okay.
more recently, I look at it as I really think that they're New World Order mind control slaves. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these smaller religions like Jehovah's Witnesses are being
Mm-hmm.
groomed to be those New World Order slaves. So I think it's like a mind control experiment, like kind of one big MK Ultra experiment is what I think Watchtower is, but definitely not a religion. Definitely not.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Because that's where I'm going to go with this. And you need to have an open mind. Okay. So, so for your viewers, I hope that you can kind of walk with us in this conversation because it dives into a little bit of like conspiracy theories. And that like that term is being normalized now. You know, like a lot of people are saying how many of these theories are actually true. And then when the Epstein stuff dropped, they're like, look at all of these signs and symbols, code words, you know, that we're looking through the, it was like this whole rabbit hole that us people that are like into that kind of stuff kind of already knew that for so long, but they were called conspiracy theorists to kind of discredit them. You know what I'm saying? Like ruin their reputation and stuff. But now those same people are vindicated, right? It's the same thing with XJWs. Some of us have known this stuff for a really long time, but we were cast out, disfellowshipped, called apostates to discredit your reputation and make you seem, you know, mentally ill or whatever. And then nothing would come out of it, right? So there you go. That's like one example I can give of a comparison um, from like the political sense, the secular sense, and then with this cultish vibe, you know, this religious cultish vibe.
And let me just say real quick, for those who aren't familiar with the whole where conspiracy theory came from. So it came from the JFK assassination. That's when it started. So when
Right.
JFK was killed, they basically claimed that this lone gunman was in this one location, and that's where he
Mhm.
shot uh, the shots from. But you see
Right.
Kennedy's head fly to the opposite direction. So people were like, well, if the gunman was there, how did his head get blown back that way? So people started digging deep into it and thinking, okay, it wasn't just this one guy. In fact, that one guy they say did it was most likely a patsy that they framed for it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So when people were diving
Exactly.
deep into it, it was the CIA that invented the term conspiracy theorist to discredit anybody from looking into that. So then that became the norm when people questioned things like the moon landing and 9/11, other things that it's you're basically questioning things that don't make sense. So then conspiracy theory was a term made up to discredit you. But one thing I just want to say
Exactly.
quick about that term is that think about how many people were called conspiracy theorists during the whole pandemic. And now,
Exactly.
yeah, and now
Hmm.
people are worried who took it on what the hell did they put in their body. So, and did anybody ever apologize? Did anybody try to demonetize or what's the word when they kick you off of YouTube? I can't
They
think.
ban you.
Yeah.
They give you strikes. They strike you out. They
Oh,
ban you. You're not monetized
misinformation.
anymore. Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
mean, misinformation.
Exactly. Yep.
So now
Yep.
that it was like everything the conspiracy theorists were saying were true, at least that it was dangerous and it didn't do anything, did the people who attacked all those other people warning about did they get in trouble for misinformation? No. So but I'm sorry, I didn't
No.
mean to cut off, but like just I think it's going on with your
Hmm.
point that the whole conspiracy theorist is like it's just something that's been weaponized to discredit people who are trying to bring
Exactly.
truth.
Exactly. So we know that, right? Now your audience knows that. And just a side note, continue to do like your research with these terms and these ideas, right? Because that's the very first comparison that we've just made. How they did that with people to discredit them and call them a theorist because they were questioning the narrative. The JWs did the exact same thing with the word apostate. They put that label on you and they have their own definition of what an apostate is. So for us, and you know, I'm a born in JW, right? So I grew up thinking that an apostate is somebody who is crazy, legit crazy, and starts spewing their own religious ideology or theology to the congregation, trying to mislead us, right? So that's a very dangerous person because they're trying to take you away from God. So that's the very first comparison. Um, and then moving on, that turns you off. That turns you mentally off. So you don't listen to what they're saying. You don't look at what they're saying. Nothing, right? We have a lot of experience with that in our community. So I know that everybody's gonna understand what we mean by that, right? All right. Now, in the political scene, when the whole Epstein stuff went down, and you already covered like most of that, right? That's when everybody in the world woke up. That's another comparison we can make. How many of us have experienced waking up from that mind control, like you compared it to when it came to the JWs? How did you feel when you woke up? Like it messed up your mental health, your emotional health? Like it really shook you that you didn't even know who you were anymore. Like that's what we experienced, or that's what I experienced. I could speak for myself and say I had a lot of identity issues. It was like, who am I? What do I believe in? Because if my world is a lie and it's wrong and it's fake, then what's real? So I started questioning everything. Well, that's what the world experienced recently with the Epstein stuff. All these normies were reading emails, looking at pictures, Googling these theories that they've never heard before. Or maybe they did hear about it, but they were like, oh, that's what my crazy uncle said, and that's fake, that doesn't exist. We used to be like that, right? So that's another major comparison. The world started waking up to the Epstein stuff, and they were realizing that 99% of all of those theories were actually true, and that Epstein was the head of that snake, right? And what did the government do? They would rather cover it up, make you guys believe like he killed himself. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. We don't know. But they would rather keep you like that, confused, than to reveal the truth and arrest those people. Because we haven't really seen any like major justice in that sense. Like, yeah, a couple of people got, you know,
Well,
called out or fired.
along with
Yeah, go
that, I
ahead.
mean, why are their names redacted still? Why is their
Yep.
names that are being protected? So one of the documents that I showed, I think it was my Epstein part 2 or 3 video. I think it was part 2. There was a an email between this guy David Mitchell that was buying the Watchtower property
Mhm.
through for Epstein, and there's one person in that email that it was blocked out. And I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
why is someone who's this guy? Like, is he a politician? Is he a Watchtower governing body member? Like, why are there still people being protected? And so it goes along to what you're saying is that they still don't really want to do anything. They don't really want to, they're still protecting some of these people. And just one more thing I want to say that you mentioned was that in in Epstein files, there's a document titled The Families of the Illuminati. And for how long have people
Yes.
said it's just a fake conspiracy? There's no Illuminati. It's all fake. It's in the Epstein files. It's very real. And these people take this stuff very
Mhm.
seriously. But I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, thank you, because we're gonna get there. That is another major like bombshell we could say. So that's the second comparison that I can make, that us as XJWs, we can empathize with other people in the world when it comes to that awakening process, because a lot of people are finally waking up, whereas we went through that but just in a religious sense, and where we were questioning everything. And then step 3, we could dive right into it, because I don't know if you saw this, but on my live show on the UPC, Bo Benson did a 3-part series exposing a lot of um, cultish slash uh, Satanism, like witchcraft, like it dives into all of those theories and myths or legends and things like that, and how it connected to the JW stuff. I don't. Did you see any one of those episodes with
I
Bo
I did, and I also want to recommend that. So because you have all your shows posted, right? Even though, yeah, okay. So
on the live tab? So
yeah,
you have to click the live tab and then scroll down, and you'll see Bo Benson. He did a whole presentation where
yeah,
he explains everything, and then he makes the connection. Go ahead.
yeah. And I just want to say that there are certain parts of his presentation that I personally didn't agree with, but at the same time, none of us know for for a fact like who's right. Like he could be right on some of the
Right.
things that I disagreed with him on, but I really do appreciate his work because he's pretty raw. Like he's not afraid to go after these people and call these people out. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that there need to be more people like Bo that I think that will step up to the plate
Yes.
and not be afraid to expose this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So when you watch it, right? And I agree with you, whether you agree with it or not, it's just information. It's just somebody who is knowledgeable enough to share it with us. And that's why I appreciate him doing that for me because it kind of opens up your mind in a different way. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to really have an open mind. And we are encouraged to be like that, to do that, right? So when he was sharing that information on like Illuminati stuff, uh, how people actually worship Satan, like that's a real religion, like that exists, um, and the rituals that they do. When I woke up to that, that's when I my eyes opened up to the political scene. That these people could very much believe in those things too. And that's why we see so much corruption, or we see the human trafficking, or we see all of these other manufactured problems, is because they engage in these practices. That's just a theory. I'm not saying that that's what's happening. It's just my opinion that when we see stuff like this happening, there's something in the background, right? Like I truly do believe that it's a spiritual war, good versus evil, and we talk about that a lot on my show, right? And I actually believe that. So
Well,
when
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say the elites believe it too, the deep state. So even if there's people watching this and you
Mm-hmm.
think there's no such thing as demons or demonic forces and entities that aren't human, they believe
Right.
it. That's a fact. They believe it to the point where that's why they do these rituals, even when they're basically telling on themselves by putting it in our face. They
Mm-hmm.
believe it. So that's just something important too, that they believe that it is a spiritual warfare.
Right. So I believe that too. Jimmy believes that. Bo believes that. And that's what we talk about on the show because we kind of connect that with politics. But then he kind of connected that for me with the cult. And I was like, oh, snap. The right in front of our face. Great example was the Black Mass ritual, which is the memorial. They just pass around the cup and the wine, nobody partakes. And that's actually a real thing. Like it's a mockery of Christianity and the Eucharist, where we take communion. I never knew that, right? So that's just one example of how this cult that we came from, we probably never even knew this our whole lives, that we were participating unknowingly in a ritual like that, right? And that made me feel like angry, disgusted, like it really boiled my blood, right? And it still does. Like the fact that we were kept down, like with education, the control of information, the shunning if you actually did learn something and you try to share it with others. Like we weren't doing anything illegal, but you're being punished for it. It's like why? So that I dealt with like a lot of bitterness and anger when it came to that, right? On the flip side, I feel the exact same way when I found out about the Epstein stuff. You get angry. You realize like what were they doing? Why were they trafficking kids? Why would they allow him, because he was convicted years ago in Florida. You spoke about this. Like he was a sex offender before all of this stuff happened. So what's going on, right? So that makes us angry, and we're like, we lose faith in the judicial system, in our government, in the voting, and that turns off a lot of people. That's what we call the black pill. You get very nihilistic. You know, some people just lose faith in everything in general, right? And I fell into that as well. Like I was angry. I was like, why is my government doing this? Why are they doing this? Right. So you kind of feel occupied, right? You feel like you don't have a voice. No matter what you say or do, they're going to do whatever they want. And people don't use their voice anymore. They get blackpilled, right? So that's another comparison that I could make when I was like going through my feelings when it came to like both things with the XJW, JW stuff, and then with the government and the Epstein stuff, because I don't know if everything in the files are true or not. We don't know that. We don't even know half of the people on that list, like in those files. We don't know them, right? So we're trusting our representatives to do something about that, which is what Thomas Macy was doing, and other, representatives in Congress, right? And you just see the infighting because, like you said, they are covering it up. And I don't care what the reason is. I don't like the cover up at all. That's when you came into play when you make your videos and you talk about all these hidden messages and you're like, well, do you think the governing body really knew about this? And some people would dead like I listen, a few years ago, I could tell you and I would say, no, I don't think they knew it. How could they? And I don't know how you feel about it now, but I can say to you, I think they are 100% complicit in everything that is being printed and shared to their followers. You could give me your opinion on that before I move on, because I think they know it. I think they know what they're doing. I think it's on purpose, and it's a continuation of the mind control.
Yeah, not only do they know what they're doing, but I think that when even XJWs act like they don't know, like some of them act like the governing body just got it wrong and stuff like that. But not only, like, I think that the reason that people are thinking that is because they're still in denial about how evil this religion is that we were part of. So it's almost like they don't want to accept that they're that dark.
That we do not look back. Not look back.
But my personal opinion on the governing body is I really believe that they're just like they do have power, but I believe that they're just doing what they're told. I don't think
Right.
that those 8 men have successfully brainwashed 8 million people, whatever they claim to be. I think
Right.
that they're getting their orders from something higher, and they
Mm-hmm.
are the face that they want people to think. Like I'll give you this example. So Elon Musk, for example, this is just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he is just the face of some of the stuff. I don't think he's making cars and making satellites and going to space. This one guy is not doing all that. He can't be an expert in all those fields. Oh, Elon Musk, he didn't put a satellite in the sky. Like he's just a face of a company that maybe he owns or he's the president of, but he's the face that they want you to associate all the stuff that he's doing with. But no way is he really doing all those things. Now, just an example of like what Watchtower, the governing body is the face that the JWs are given. These are men are speaking to Jehovah. They're the only communication that Jehovah's using, but they're just the face of it. And I did a video recently titled Governing Body Caught in Masonic Ritual, and you see Garrett Loesch doing a Masonic ritual. And the reason I think that he did that and they do stuff like that is because again they're not at the top. So you see them doing these rituals because they're answering to a higher power. So I believe somebody else is telling the governing body what to do and when they need to do a ritual, when they need to make an adjustment, when they need to change. But yeah, they definitely know exactly what they're doing. But at the same time, I think they're just following orders from something much higher. And if my theory is right that they're created by like the Illuminati themselves, then yeah, the governing body, they have just been appointed by those people to say, okay, you're going to be the face of this religion, but they're probably just playing a role, is what I think.
Exactly. So I agree 1000% with you. And with that in mind, right? Everybody watching, you just heard his theory. With that in mind, that's exactly how I view our government. These are people, they are just the face, they are just representatives, but it's like, who are they representing, right? Our local representatives are supposed to represent us as voters, constituents, residents, right? The whole character of Epstein, it wasn't just him. Like I could say the same exact thing you just said, but just put Epstein's name right there. It wasn't just him trafficking everybody. Where did he get all of this money? It's not just, out of the blue he became rich. There's something behind him that is using him as a pawn. He's just a player, okay? We have to hate the game. We have to find out who constructed all of this to even exist in the first place. And when you dive down that rabbit hole, people start calling you conspiracy theorists. They call us anti-Semitic because of the Jewish element. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter what race or what country is behind it. Whoever is behind it, I'm going to speak up against it because it's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care who it is, right? So that's another comparison that I've made recently with your theory because I never really used to think like, they're just average JWs who happen to get anointed and put in that position because they care about people. Like I was super blue pilled. I was like a green square. I was super innocent and gullible when it came to those things. But no, now I actually do believe that they can be that evil and actually know about it. You know what I'm saying? Like they're actors. So that's what Jimmy that's what he kind of says. And I lean into that theory as well that everything is a show, everything is fake, and they are just actors playing in their role and they're just doing what they're being told, right? So I agree 1000%. So when the whole Epstein situation happened and he got arrested and everybody was like super happy that finally justice was going to be served and the victims were going to get their say in court or something like that. How long has it been? It's been years and nothing has happened, right? That's how I feel with the organization as well. Some people have found out and like known things for a very long time and made videos and became apostates and did everything and were shunned and like the OG XJWs, and it's still going on. Like there's no sort of justice. Nobody gets arrested. Nobody gets called to a court or whatever. And the few times that those court cases were like doing CSA stuff, like Candace Conti was a famous case back in the day, and then others came after her. All of those other cases, they got settled out of court, and I was like, all right. So I think I've said this to you before. I don't know if I have, but my like my thing about that was that I'm happy for everyone who gets a settlement, who gets their day in court. You know what I'm saying? But that let the Watchtower off the hook because they didn't have to testify. They didn't have to release any more evidence. They didn't have to do anything else because they settled out of court. They're never going to be brought to justice if they're not forced to do so, right? And that's how I feel about the Epstein stuff. They're trying to bury this for as long as they can. So whoever is behind it is still alive, is still free, is still living,
Well, I
you know?
think I think too that some of the names being redacted and hidden from the Epstein files are probably the ones above Epstein, because I agree with you 100% that Epstein was not running this whole thing. He's the one that got caught, so he kind of became the fall guy for these other people that are still in the background. So I think when you see some of those names redacted, those are probably bigger players than Epstein, and they're being protected. And some
Mhm.
people may not agree with this, but my gut instinct kind of believes this, that this war that was recently started, I think, is a diversion from the Epstein files, because right when Epstein files started getting juicy, like it finally comes out and people are now reading it and they want to know who these people are. Now we're at war. And the thing is, it's not that I'm 100% questioning the whole war thing, but it's the fact that what is the reality? The reality is was once this war started, the Epstein stuff is gone away. No one's even talking about Epstein. Is now being covered up quietly. Well, look at the
Exactly.
stuff that was talked about, eating babies or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the hell they were doing,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
there's politicians involved, and CEOs of companies and things like that. And some CEOs step down, a big company. Why do you think they stepped down? Well,
Exactly.
now that the war started, it's like non-existent. So I think there's something to that. I'm not saying everybody involved with wanting to push this war is part of that, but I think something behind the scenes has pushed this war to divert people away from that. That's what I honestly think, because nobody's talking about it. And why
Exactly.
aren't those names being brought to justice? Why are they allowed to say, okay, we're going to release it, but we're going to hide everybody who we want to protect? It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. So then that takes us to the very few people who actually got caught, right? And they resigned. There was like was it like some prince from Dubai or something that was famously like caught, arrested? Prince Andrew was arrested. Did you see that? So it's like when you see all these things happening on a world stage, you're like, oh snap, it might actually be real, right? It's like it opens up your eyes. But we haven't seen that with the JW organization. Unfortunately, I think they're doing a better job at that cover up playbook. So they are like experts with the cover up situation. And that's really what we're here to talk about, right? So this is what I told you, that if you ever wanted that that story, that firsthand experience of somebody from the other side, because we hear so many stories of about victims, right? How this happened to them, or the elders told them this, or they were silenced, and etc., right? We have countless stories like that, but you rarely hear about another story from the other side of the table, where I saw firsthand the cover up from the perpetrator's side, which was my uncle. And that was the inception of my channel, because I couldn't sleep anymore at night knowing that I actually saw the whole breakdown of how they covered this up and protected him rather than the victim or anybody in the congregation or us as a family. Nothing. So that's what I'm going to talk about now. And I did send you, did I send you the links to my original photo?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
original video.
you did. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So you can show snippets or clips of what I'm about to talk about so people can see that, yes, this is true. This is real. I even sent you the article. Like, because once again, you might have JWs or XJWs who might still be mentally asleep, and they're gonna think, oh, this is just another fake story. But we used to be those people, right? So you can see for yourself. This was reported on. There's a mugshot. This is a real story. And then what happens afterwards, which we never get to really hear. Well, what happened to this guy after he was arrested and tried to meet up with a minor? Or what happened to that brother that used to come to this congregation? He got DF like a year ago, but whatever happened to him? They never give you a follow-up. And I think that's on purpose, right? So my uncle was arrested. I believe it was like 2018 or 2019. You can correct me if I'm wrong once you put the article up. But he was arrested because he was trying to meet up with a minor, right? And so since this was technically his first offense, and I say that for a reason, We're going to come back to that. Since this was technically his first offense, he took a plea deal because he doesn't have any, criminal record. So it's like a slap on the wrist, basically, because this is technically his first time. But, we're going to get into that. But anyways, he took a plea deal. He paid the bond and he got arrested like on a Thursday or a Friday. Bro, that Sunday, he was at a meeting at the Kingdom Hall. When I found that out, I wanted to throw up because I was like, how you got arrested 2 days ago and you dare show your face at a Sunday meeting, especially for the type of offense he got arrested for. But this is all part of the cover-up, is to save face, to save your reputation, to save your social life, everything, because they're going to be like, what? I saw him last Sunday at the meeting. That can't be real. You see what I'm saying? So it's like it creates the doubt because they act like nothing ever happened. They continue life as normal. But I know this because everybody started calling in one another, right? And mind you, during this time, I was being shunned because I was technically an apostate. But I moved away from New York. I moved to Florida. I was done with my family. They weren't talking to me anymore. And then out of the blue, I was getting all these phone calls, all these messages. And then I finally spoke to that side of the family for the first time in a super long time because of this whole incident, right? So after that, I find out that his wife was calling my side of the family, asking for advice, asking for legal advice. What should we do? It was like an earthquake happened within the family. And I'm thinking, as a JW, why are you calling non-witness family for advice about this? Especially after we find out the context. Like, are you dumb? Are you stupid? Like, who would want to any normal person, who would want to give advice, any type of advice, or even talk to the man ever again after you find out he was trying to meet up with a 14-year-old minor for reasons we can't talk about, right? That's what got me. I was like, this is insane. Because, now, looking later on, it's because she can't go to any JW and ask for advice. That would wake them up. That would make them question and be like, what did brother so-and-so do? What? Like, what did your husband do? This is insane. Because as a JW, we would never in a million years think that something that evil would happen to any one of us or to any one of our children in the Kingdom Hall. Right? That's Jehovah's house. That's a safe place. That's where the Holy Spirit is. No. No. And the elders knew this about him, and they did not revoke his invitation to the Kingdom Hall. That's another thing that I didn't know, that elders have the authority to like kick you out and you can't come here anymore. So I called his local elders. I was leaving messages. I was like going crazy because I was like, he's my uncle. I'm a witness. I'm an active, but I'm still a witness. Like, I care about the Jehovah's Witnesses in that area. Why are you not doing anything about it? You know what he told me? He told me, we know about it. Don't worry. We have people watching him. What's that supposed to mean? We have people watching. Who's watching him? So
and
I got
and
off
watching
that.
him how watching
Mhm,
him when he leaves the Kingdom
mhm,
Hall and like
mhm.
okay, they're watching him at the Kingdom Hall, but what about when he's not at the Kingdom Hall? Like, what do they mean? Like, okay,
Exactly. I don't know. I was like, I got off that phone call I was more confused than when I first called because I was expecting him to say, don't worry, we have let him know. We notified the congregation. We've notified family heads that this brother was recently arrested, to stay away from him. The same type of notifications that they would give the congregation to for an apostate, because that's what they would do. At least in my experience, if we knew that there was somebody who was a so-called apostate, they would notify everybody, all of the family heads, which is usually the father, the man of the household. But I have a single mom, right? So my mom would know these things, right? To protect your children if you have minor children. I was expecting that reply, but he tells me, no, don't worry. We have people watching him. So I'm going to have to leave a pin in that because I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I don't even know what to say. I assume that they have designated elders or ministerial servants, somebody with a position that watches him while he's in the kingdom hall, like when he goes to the bathroom or where he sits or who he talks to. You know, that's what I assume. I don't know. If there's any ex-elders that might know, comment on this video and please let me know, because I have no clue. But I was very bothered with that response, because that's not good enough for me. You can't watch somebody who has this, who's prone to doing this to children, who has a tendency to target children. You can't watch their every move. You know what I'm saying? Like, they are masters of deception. You know, like, they're going to have good behavior for a really long time, gain your trust, and then boom, this happens all over again, right? Like, I mean, that's just me. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, hell no. You tell him he's no longer allowed on the premises. You don't allow a man back on the property because you know that there's families with children here. And then come to find out, he had to register as a sex offender. So you have all the grounds you need as an elder to tell this individual never to come here again because there's children here, right?
So I would
And
think
if
that the way
uh-huh.
to watch him would be by notifying the congregation, because
Mhm.
then the parents can make sure that they watch their children
Right,
24/7 away from
right.
him. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
then, like, outside of the Kingdom Hall, if all the families are notified, then they can just watch and protect their family. That would be effective, but to have just the elders doing it would not be effective.
Exactly. But we don't have any guarantee that that's what's going to happen. We don't know if they made those announcements. There was no solution there. So I was left up in the air like, well, that doesn't solve my issue. My problem is those children. I worry about that.
And I don't
So
think there is a separate
mhm,
announcement for something like that. I think the announcements
exactly.
are standard as you've
Mhm,
been reproved or disfellowshipped
mhm,
or something like that, or you're no longer serving in a position. I don't think they have
exactly.
any official announcement for something like that.
Exactly. They don't. At least not that we know of, that there's a specific announcement in private and in public or private that lets people know when there's a predator in the Kingdom Hall if they don't want to revoke his invitation. But then that's when I found out about the revocation, because I spoke to ex elders on YouTube, and we see the way they talk and they reveal information. And yes, that's an option. You can tell him never to come back again. So why not do that? You know what I'm saying? So that's what made me become a problem for them. I kept calling, I kept leaving messages like I was a problem for them because I felt like they weren't doing enough. So he did get disfellowshipped, but he wasn't disfellowshipped for long. That's another issue. They just disfellowship people and they don't tell you what for. They don't, and I'm not saying that they should, but when it comes to something like that, that's completely different. That's not just a sin anymore. It's a crime. You know what I'm saying?
I have a theory on what I think happens at the Kingdom Hall. So I
Mhm,
think that you have certain circuit overseers, not all of them, but
mhm,
certain circuit overseers I think are like maybe high degree, either Freemasons, Illuminati, whatever you want to call them. And I think that some of them are placed and they're doing child trafficking stuff, or at least they're
mhm.
allowing it. And I think that in certain congregations they're specifically designed to allow it to keep happening. I don't know if I'm really explaining this correctly, what my theory is, but like,
I get it. I
okay,
get that though, because I'm not saying I believe in it
mm,
100%, but like I understand it, because when Selena did her video and that went viral in
mm,
our community, that was another like waking up moment, because whether it doesn't matter whether or not she was lying or telling the truth, it still woke people up
yeah.
that that is even a possibility to even happen in our community, because we were trained not to think, not to doubt, not to question. So when she said those things, it opens up your mind, regardless if it's true or not. It just opens your mind to it,
Well, remember
and then
too.
later on find out. Mm-hmm.
Remember when I think recently there's a circuit overseer that was charged with something. I think in another
Mm-hmm.
country that he was like I don't know if he actually raped a minor, but he was sinning. He was doing something, and I think charges were pressed on him. It was a circuit overseer in like the UK or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I can find it, I'll put it on the screen when I post the video. But basically, this circuit overseer was like a predator, and he was like making moves on minors in the congregation, and he got caught like texting or saying some inappropriate stuff on what he wanted to do to somebody. But
Right.
that's why, because sometimes like circuit overseers will be placed or elders will be placed for no reason in the congregation to supposedly help out. And I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it could be random, but I think at the same time that when they keep track of who are the pedos and who the
Right.
victims are and all that, I think they keep, well, we know they keep track of that stuff. So I think that they might move some of these people around on purpose and allow them to do
Mm-hmm.
this stuff. And I think that it goes into the satanic element as far as like
Right.
sacrificing for that reason. And
Exactly.
okay, we're
Yep,
on the
yep,
same
yeah.
page. Okay.
I get you, because
Mm,
that's the exact same playbook that I see in the political world with the Epstein stuff. They're allowing all of this to happen. They know exactly who was doing this. They're probably friends with them, or it's themselves, and they're trying to protect their own reputation or their career or whatever. So I get it. But when it was happening to my uncle, to my family, like all of these revelations were coming to light, that's when it was like a second earthquake in my brain, because not only did I wake up from the indoctrination, but then I woke up to like this evil scheme of people like him that get away with this stuff. Because I used to like watch those videos on YouTube of their survivor stories, exit stories, and I would have sympathy for them, but you know, not me. It would never happen to me. Like sometimes we're like that as humans. Like that would never happen in my family, or that would never happen in my congregation because my congregation is super spiritual, or like my family's regular pioneers. It would never happen to me. I used to have that mentality, like I feel so sorry for this person and I wish they would get justice. Like I have sympathy, of course, but that would never happen to me. So then when it did happen to me, I was like, oh my God, because I couldn't deny it. I couldn't deny it because it was literally happening to him. And I'm witnessing this in the freaking news, and my family calling me. So that's the what's that word, the cognitive dissonance. I couldn't do it for this situation on this end of the spectrum, but I also couldn't do it on the other side of the spectrum, because those stories already existed in the XJW community. Like, yes, those things happen. You can't deny that either. You can't say that all of those hundreds of people are lying on Reddit or on YouTube. Like, no, it's real, and I knew about that. So the cognitive dissonance was so hard because I couldn't deny the fact in front of my face. Even as bad as I wanted to, I couldn't. Your brain doesn't allow you sometimes. You wake up whether you like it or not, and you start to realize how evil these things can turn into. Like the stuff you cover about the Caleb and Sophia stuff, it's legit evil stuff happening.
And I wanted to go into that right as you were saying that. I was thinking that. So what is your opinion? Because what you seen how they covered up the thing with your uncle and didn't warn the congregation and all that stuff. So what do you think of the pedal images that they're planting in the
Exactly.
JW literature? And that
Exactly.
and that's kind of like what I was trying to get at. I couldn't quite explain how I think it works, but like I feel that they're putting that in there on purpose to one,
Mhm.
create pedophiles, or to tempt people who already have that issue. And I think it's also to maybe make the children accept it, because if they're subliminally putting this stuff in the magazines and the books. So what is your take on, say, the connection of how they covered up the thing to your uncle, then you see they're planting it
Exactly.
in the literature?
Exactly. That because I was just about to say that. It was like you and your channel was the third element that didn't allow me to, to discredit this because even XJWs like yourself are pointing out the legit signs and symbols of the theory that we've all had, which is what we've been explaining here. And that's what made me realize that I truly do believe that they are doing this on purpose, but I think it's more so to call each other silently. It's like a silent dog whistle to other people like them so they can see each other. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? Like they can form a community of
and
themselves.
and it goes into the thought of, say, why would they plant those symbols in the cartoon, say the ones that are flagged as pedal symbols?
Right.
Because nobody really knows what those symbols are except people who are like in the FBI or them. So
Exactly. Or them. So they're the only ones who would know. And when they see this stuff flipping through the pages, they're like, they take note secretly in their mind. But we layman people, us regular publishers, would never think twice about that unless your eyes are open, then you start waking up, or if you have previous knowledge of what these symbols are.
so so think about it like this. So the organization at the top is planting it in the literature and in the books.
Yes.
So it makes sense that maybe from the top, they're giving instruction to the local elders basically to cover it up because they obviously want it going on. So
Mhm.
I would say that that's why they're instructed to kind of cover it up and let these people off the hook, because that's why it's being planted in the literature, because the organization wants it. And I think it goes back into, say, the satanic element on why they actually
Mhm.
want it in the congregation. I mean, I haven't quite figured that out, but there has to be a reason that they want it in a congregation, that they're planting it in all the books and magazines, that the whole world of Jehovah's Witnesses, they're all studying the same material. So it's like, what exactly is their motive for habitually continuing to put it in there? And I think that
Mhm.
what you said about the calling card makes sense too, because if anything, yeah, other
Mhm.
pedos are going to know, oh, look at the symbols. That means that this is acceptable in this organization. And then when they
Right.
when they do it and get caught, the elders are given training apparently to pretty much cover it up.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then I think
Another
some of them
theory.
orchestrated on purpose. I think some of them at the same time,
Right.
like
Mhm.
like basically they may even set children up in a certain service group with children with a person that already has a problem with that. Because I think that there's that element too of it's all controlled. It's kind of like the thing with Epstein,
Mhm.
like pimping people out. Basically, I think the same thing is going on in Watchtower.
Right. So that's a theory. That's a possibility. I also still hold the theory that it could just be a rogue artist in the department that is doing that because he is a part of that community, and that's a silent calling card. I believe that too. It's endless. But what I do know is how they handled my uncle. That's what I do know for 100% fact. From the other side of the spectrum, I saw firsthand how they covered it up. So after he got reinstated, there was no confirmation of an announcement. There was no confirmation of a revocation to the premises. They allowed him to come back into the Kingdom Hall and they just watch him. Okay. So that's what I can tell you right now. That's the status. He is a registered sex offender in the state of New York. He's a level 1 offender, which means there's not much like you could look up on the internet. It's like a first offense type of thing. No photo out there. You really can't, you can call the hotline and you can confirm that because I did that. But there's not much else you can do, right? You can't go posting pictures of his face. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I was legit thinking about doing that. But he's a level 1, right? Okay. So he can still do things, apparently. Like,
But he was
because
never
it's
actually in trouble, right? Like he never served any jail time. He just got out, basically.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That was another thing that got me upset. Just because it was technically his first offense, and I'm gonna go into that now, he didn't get any jail time. So he paid the bond, he gets out, he does his court stuff, that's all done. That's all done. He's a free man. And he has no other like restrictions. Like I think they just restrict internet access at his house. He can't get, a job with children ever again. He can't, like the normal restrictions for an SO person, right? But that's it. There's no regulation or restriction for his religious life. Like that was my issue. I'm like, do they know like he's a Jehovah's Witness, that he goes to a kingdom hall where there's children? Like, hello. So that's the issue where we can't really do much as citizens because everything is already set and done. He already has his sentence. He's already, it's already done. Now, to the point of the first offense, right? Because after I started having these conversations with his sister-in-law, sister-in-laws, and more of like my family, right? But they're not related to me biologically. Those are like distant, like his wife's family, basically, that congregation. And I grew up in that kingdom hall, so they know me since I was a child, which makes it all the more disgusting. Like I'm finding out that these people that I knew my entire life, practically family, because we're all married into one another. That's another issue. Kingdom halls are all family sometimes. Like they all marry into one another, right? So I find out that his judicial committee were his brother-in-laws. What? Like did anybody think that would be a conflict of interest, that the internal affair committee is literally his family? Like, okay, you see, I'm already getting I'm already getting like riled up because that sounds so obvious, right? Like, who would put the person, in the committee with other family members that could potentially do whatever they want? They know him. They're all married. They all married sisters. They're family. That's when I kind of like put two and two together, that they covered up his previous committees where he was disfellowshipped, because he was disfellowshipped 3 times before this time. At least 3 times. This is like his 4th disfellowshipping. It's like, how many times can you get disfellowship before they just say no more? Like, there's no strikeout with these people, with the Jehovah's Witnesses organization, right? He got DF 3 times before this. Come to find out, at least one of them in like the early 2000s was because he tried to do the exact same thing. Never got caught. They didn't call the police. He lost his job because he was working in the DOE in New York City because he was trying to communicate with a minor, because he worked at a school. He had access to children. So who knows how long he's been trying to do this, did something we don't know about. But just because he technically got caught in 2018, 19, he gets a slap on the wrist? When I know personally that the Jehovah's Witnesses do cover this stuff up. We've heard stories of victims. Now I see it through the other side that he got this fellowship. Who knows what he got this fellowship before? They're not going to tell us, but we know, right? We know this. He probably got this fellowship because of the exact same thing, and they never called the police, never got arrested until now. This could have been his third or fourth time trying to meet up with a minor, because we know he got this fellowship multiple times before. What? You see what I'm saying? Like, this is why.
It probably was for the same thing because most of the time when people
Yeah,
get this fellowship, there's usually something similar. Usually it's the same type of offense, usually.
exactly. Or like, being unfaithful to your wife, like adultery, fornication, whatever. But people like in the like, we're thinking that, right? You hear the announcement, you're like, oh, so and so got this fellowship, and you're like, damn, he probably cheated on his wife, right? Like that's that's like the go-to assumption. But now knowing the behind the scenes, he's trying to do that sin, right? That crime, that sin, but with children. That's what gets me upset. I don't care if you want to cheat on your wife. I don't care. But do that with a consenting adult. Why are you trying to get a child? That's what gets me upset. That's what made me so angry. I started a YouTube channel. I did that video. It got like 10K views. I never stop talking about this subject whenever I get the chance. So fast forward to all of this, because even his brother, my other uncle, was an elder at the time and was in those conversations with the other elders, trying to figure out like what's going on, what's going to happen, yada, yada. My own uncle, my other one, the JW uncle, because I have a lot, but that uncle wakes up from the cold and finally speaks to me, because, they were shunning me, right? And he tells me personally that he was so thankful that I made that video against his brother, my uncle, because he didn't even know half of the details of the actual case that's in that article, the actual documents that I discovered, that I got, that people helped me get on the internet in our community, that I put out publicly. He didn't even know those things. And I was shocked, because I'm like, how? You were an elder, like you were in those rooms, like on the phone, you were talking with them, and they didn't even tell him the truth. So it's like levels to this cover up. It's like so many layers to this
Well,
that they.
that kind of goes
Mhm.
into my theory. It goes into my theory because how you're saying that he was an elder too, but even he didn't know, because I think
Right,
that there's certain elders that are in maybe that network that allows this stuff to happen. And not all
right.
elders are on board, just like not all COs are on board, but some of them are. So I think that just goes along to what I think, that there's a certain network and certain elders I think are purposely trained to allow this stuff to keep happening, is what I think. And if your uncle
Exactly.
was really a good man, then they might have known, okay, he's not going to be down with that, so keep certain things,
Exactly.
certain elders. Yeah, that's how I think. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I believe as well. Because if he would have known that one little detail that I said in that 10-minute video, maybe things would have been completely different. It would have been completely different. He would have not supported his brother the way that he did, or he could have woke up sooner. Like, there's a million ideas that you can think about. But I was so nervous in that phone call that I had with him, because I was thinking he was gonna like berate me for doing that, because that's his brother. That's my uncle. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm like a YouTuber now, making videos exposing people. So you never know how your family's gonna take that. But it was a very productive and good conversation when he told me that. And then I got to see him in real life. Like, we connected again. Like, that was crazy. Like crazy experience that I could give of like a reconnection.
And
But
I just want to
yeah.
jump in real quick. So one thing I really appreciate about your energy is that the way you're describing what led you to that first
Mhm.
video, I mean, I can see it just as you're talking to me about it. This is kind of old, but just you
Yeah.
going back in time and explaining it to me, I could see how that passion drove you to make that first YouTube video. And I
Mhm.
think that that's what we need more of an XJW community, I think is getting angry and thinking about like what they've done and being moved to say someone has to know about this stuff. Like I
Right.
don't like doing the type of videos that I do, but I feel that like if I'm seeing it, no one else is seeing it, then it needs to be exposed. Like people need to see this. But I
Right.
appreciate the fact that like you came out strong in your very first video, and even though it was a family member, you still put that information out there. And I just wish that more XAWs would have that courage and that power to just go after Watchtower and not be afraid of it. But
Exactly.
I want to go back real quick. Just one thing I want to disagree with you on. Nothing major, but I have to say because I'm passionate about this one thing is the rogue artist thing because so they've been doing this for the whole time. Like from the
Mhm.
very first Watchtower, they had subliminal messages on the cover of it. The very first Watchtower that ever came out. Even though it
Mhm.
wasn't pedo stuff, but they've been doing it for such a long time.
Mhm.
And to me, that like you could have a rogue artist, but like where their rogue artists is, say like throughout the whole 100 years they've been doing it, it's like they're still to this day still putting stuff out there like that. And then like
Right. Right.
the way
Yeah.
that it's done, to me, it's done with like MK Ultra CIA level programming. Like it's put in
Right.
there, I feel like by a mad scientist, like a genius. And I feel like I don't see just like um a random pedophile at Bethel that works at the art department even knowing how to put it into your brain like that. Have like it's right, it's almost like it's right in your face, but it's done in such a way
Right.
that you don't even see it because they're using like heavy brainwashing tactics, I think. But then once you see it, it's like, how can you not see it? Um, so
Yeah.
but
No,
that's
I agree with you though. No, thank you for saying that because people can see in
mhm,
real time
yeah.
that my brain is still trying
Mhm.
to cope. That's a
Well,
coping mechanism for me because I still say that stuff,
mhm,
but then when you bring it back
mhm,
up to me again, I'm like, you know what, you're right. You know what I'm saying? Like even
mhm,
10 years out of the cult,
mhm,
I'm still doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's just our human nature
mhm.
to keep all possibilities open because you don't want the ugly truth to be really true. So your brain cops out for you.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point that out as well because my brain just did that in this video. Like my brain literally just tried to save myself from the thought that
Yeah,
it's been happening for over 100 years, like you just said.
and I'm glad that that played out in real time because it also shows that like when you respect people, you don't have to be afraid to disagree with them. So if I was
Yeah.
like concerned with like, oh, well, I don't want to say it because she might get mad, I wouldn't even say it and I wouldn't have
No.
been able to help your reason. But it's like I know I can disagree with you and we're still friends, like it doesn't matter. Like, and then
Mhm.
you can see in real time that you thought about what I said and
Exactly. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
more thing I want to say about that too is that it's also
Mhm.
in the Caleb and Sophia videos, like the animation.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
that's not even an art department. You're dealing with a whole nother department, and you're still seeing the same pedo stuff in the
That's
cartoon.
true.
So
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, and that's true. You're right. Yeah, that's crazy. You see, this is why I do believe that it's a negative energy that is promoting this organization. It's demonic, in my opinion. I know people take that word different ways, but I truly believe that Satan exists, demon exists, and they are keeping these organizations through people who allow themselves to be used by these negative energies and or spirits or whatever, and they may not even know they're being used. I could at least say that. I think it's fair enough to say that yes, they can be purposely doing it, but they could be useful idiots as well, and they don't even know that they're being used for to create stuff like this. I'll say that. I'll say that.
yeah, I can agree with that. Where I think you got two types. You got those who are
Yeah.
worshiping Satan or Saturn or whatever they worship, and they know what they're doing. but then you're going to have some that are heavily influenced that may not be
Yeah.
100% aware of what they're actually doing. Because some of that
Right.
subliminal stuff, it's being put in your head and you may not even realize it. So that can have a negative effect as well. So they may not all realize that there is a demonic force at the top of it, but the people at the very top, I think, are directly worshiping something evil. Um, but
Exactly. Yeah.
one thing I want to
So
get your oh, I'm sorry.
mhm. No, I was just gonna say real quick that just for the viewers also to like remember this is that we're coming from completely two different ends of the stick. I was a born in, whereas you came in as an adult. So you may see things and have opinions on the exact same subject that you're coming from a completely different outsider type view, but also used to be JW. Whereas I was born into it. I didn't know any better until I was an adult. I didn't even know the outside world. I was so indoctrinated that I was a willing participant in a lot of this evil ritualistic stuff and didn't even know it. So that's that's why our viewpoint on this type of stuff, it's different, but it's the same. Like I don't know how to explain that, but it's like we just see the same thing just two different ways
Yeah,
because of
we
our background.
we still meet at the same point, but
Yeah,
from two different starting points. And like
exactly.
it's easier for me to dismiss the rogue artist theory because like you said, I was not I didn't get
Right,
baptized till I was an adult, so it's easy for me to kind of see through some of that BS
right.
where when you're born in, you were trained since you were a kid to believe
To
it's those
believe that.
organizations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, which is why I had to point that out when you disagreed with me, is because we sometimes forget that I was also conditioned to believe that. So even though I'm awake and I'm out, your brain still has those old tendencies because I was literally born into it. I'm 30 years old, but for majority of my life until I was like 22, 21, I was believing in it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a very short period of time that I've been awake. You know what I'm saying? Like even
Yeah,
I have to realize that sometimes.
and you being awake is why you seem older than you are. Like you don't look older than you are, but your brain, I feel like it's like in your 40s because no, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You don't look in your 40s, but I'm saying your brain because most people, you
Yeah.
said you're 30, like just 30,
Yeah.
not even
Yeah.
31. Okay.
No, I just turned 30 this year.
Okay, yeah.
This year.
But when you become awake to everything, it's like you make so much progress so quick with knowledge that you become very wise when you can see through all the BS. And someone in their 50s who still 100% believing in like the mainstream or everything the governing body says can be like in their 20s still or even a child. In fact, most witnesses I feel
Right.
like have the mind of a child. Like when they got
Yeah.
excited that
Yup.
they can wear beards now, they're all excited about it. So you got
Yeah, it was disgusting.
yeah,
That was crazy. Like they were celebrating stupid stuff like that. And I was like, are we living in two different dimensions here? Like
yeah,
my generation celebrating that? Like what?
you need a group of these old geezers to tell you that as a grown man, you can now wear the facial hair that Jehovah gave you to begin with, and you're excited
Exactly.
about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Exactly.
I want to get your honest opinion on a couple of things. So,
Yeah.
making back the strong connection between Epstein and Watchtower. So,
Mhm.
when I did my first Epstein video, some people criticized me because just based on the first email, I knew there was a
Mhm.
deeper connection. And the other videos that followed proved more and more that there was more of a connection than that original email. But the email basically was that Jeffrey Epstein was buying one of the Watchtower buildings, one of the residence buildings that they house
Mhm.
Bethelites in, and these guys are billionaires. So
Yeah, I remember. I saw the video. I saw it,
okay,
and I remember that in real life
mm,
because everybody was talking about Kushner, Jared
mm,
buying it, and your theory, him just being the face
mm,
of the whole operation, but it was actual companies that were buying these buildings.
mm.
I remember all of it. Yeah.
But what I want to focus on is the fact that they were excited about
Mhm.
using one of the Watchtower buildings, like excited about buying this piece of property.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
just based on one email, the first email that I seen, I said they must know that Watchtower is into the same network they're in because I'm thinking, well, let me ask your opinion on it. Like, do you think it's
Mhm.
just a coincidence that Epstein, of all
Yeah.
people, would be interested in buying Watchtower? Like, what is your honest opinion on that? Because there's no physical proof
Well,
what they wanted to do with the buildings, but like,
right.
what is your take on that?
Yeah, that's a tricky one because we're talking about a class difference. You know what I'm saying? Like they're elites, they're billionaires, they got money. So things mean different to them. You know what I'm saying? So purchasing something like that and just knowing about him with the island or him with the ranch that he I think was in like New Mexico or something like that. So it's like hotspots for these people. And if he did know about those tunnels, and I still haven't even dived into that. I honestly don't know if it's true or not. I don't know, but I've heard about it. I'm just saying, if they knew about this and then knowing where the buildings came from, like who built it, who made it, you know what I'm saying? Like I think that's another silent call to connect the two so that they could sell it to them. You see, it's like they're all connected because they're all in that class. They're all, elite type of people. So I don't really think it matters whether or not he wanted to buy it. It helps the business. It helps the system that they're in to continue to exist. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't know, but they don't care. They don't care. The JWs don't care. They just want to sell it. They want to get their money because they know what's up and they moved upstate real quick. You know what I'm saying? Like these people get news before me and you. They know what's happening behind the scenes. Like I said, it's just a show. They just show their faces to show, but they know things. They do things, right? Like the movie you suggested. I think it was you who told me to watch Eyes
Eyes
Wide
Wide
Shut.
Shut. Yep.
Exactly,
Did you
right.
watch it?
So, yes, yes. And that's how I feel it when Tom Cruise was like stumbling into something and then he was like, "Oh crap, like what is this?" That's us. But to them, this is normal. They do these things on like it's another Saturday for them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, of course they're going to buy those buildings. Of course. I don't think it's a coincidence. These people know each other.
That's basically what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Yes, like I think they know each other. They know each other's families. Their wives go out and have brunch. The kids all go to the same private school. You know what I'm saying? Like that environment, like that system, we it's easy for me to kind of like lean into that. It's because we come from New York City where that's all over the place. Mad people with mad money. And that's the lifestyle. That's how it is in New York. It's just it's a lifestyle. It's a thing, except that they do things behind closed doors.
Do you know the story about what
You know?
happened to the guy that wrote the movie or directed
Yeah,
it?
yeah, he ended up dead, and that's
You know why he
common.
did, right?
I think the theory is that it was he because they didn't want him to release that movie or certain parts of the movie, and he
Yeah,
did it
so
anyways.
so
Yeah.
what happened was, well, actually he didn't as far as the certain parts. What happened was there was, I think it was 25 minutes that
Yeah.
that were cut out of the script. And they didn't want him to put that in a movie because I think he was getting maybe too deep into like real personal like
Right.
secrets on how they run things, and they
Mhm.
wanted him to take it out, but he was like, no, like this is the product. And
Right.
so then he mysteriously died, and the reason they think was because of that is because when he died, whoever it was that ended up being in charge to still release it then cut out
Mhm.
that part that was in question anyway, so there's 25 minutes of the movie
Okay.
that were missing. So it's like if he took it out, he'd probably still be alive if that's what happened. And this is going to be kind
Okay.
of a crazy theory, but I'm going to say because I know my
Mhm.
subscribers can handle this. So
Mhm.
I know everybody thinks that Raymond Franz is like the biggest most important so-called apostate that exists, and Raymond Franz, he
Mhm.
wrote the book Crisis of Conscience. Oh, it was such a great thing.
Right.
I'm highly suspect of him but at the same time, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because this is my problem with
Mhm,
Raymond France is that
mhm,
he was a member of the governing body, so he wrote this book about what it was like on a governing body and how policies were made up and things like that. But I'm thinking, okay, where's the part where it talked about they're all Freemasons? Like, don't the governing body got the Freemason rings? Where's all that
mhm,
part? Where's the part that talks about uh where they're really getting their information from? So
mhm.
according to this book, you would think still the governing body is just as high as it goes. So I'm thinking
Right.
I don't buy the fact that he was a governing body. I'm not I know he was a governing body member, but I'm not buying the story that like he was on the governing body and did not know that they were into all this other stuff. Like so at first I just thought, okay, I don't trust him at all. But then I thought going back to Eyes Wide Shut, that whole thing, is the director or the person who wrote the movie got threatened. Basically, they're like, you can't put that in there.
Exactly.
So then I
Right.
thought, if anything, maybe he had some visitors and he was threatened, like, okay, you can write this book, but do not talk about this. And maybe he just left that stuff out. But there's definitely
Exactly.
something more to the governing body than what he says. So it makes me a little wary of the whole situation.
Exactly. And I would believe that. Like that's totally believable. Except that I just wish that he was alive to kind of like interrogate, like
Mm,
interview and like talk to him so we can
yeah.
feel him out. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a big like that's big to me. You know what I'm saying? Like when I watch people, I'm looking at their facial expressions, their body language. It's like I'm feeling you out through the screen, like when I'm watching people to see if they're authentic or not. You know what I'm saying? But it's like we can't do that with people like him because it's like we don't have much to go by. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of sucks. But I believe that definitely.
Hmm.
I definitely believe that. And I
Because
have to read that book. I haven't even read it yet. I gotta read it.
Because if you go back to say even Epstein files and it talks about the Illuminati and Charles T. Russell's bloodline is on there and all that. So from my
Mm-hmm.
understanding is it was created by these same people. You know, they're on that list of the Illuminati blood list. So
Mm-hmm.
I know there's something way bigger than just the governing body. So that's what I'm saying his book is not telling everything he must have known. He must have known who was really behind the organization or where they're really getting their information from and what to do about it. Like, yeah.
Right. Right. Yep. Yep. I'm with you there. So just to kind of like wrap it up like the whole video, the whole story is like we've made all of these comparisons. Maybe whoever's watching have different comparisons. Put them in the comments because I'm interested in that type of stuff and I'll read it and respond and stuff like that. And then just to kind of wrap up the personal story was that once I found out all of these elements of cover up, like his judicial committee being literally his family members, they were his brother-in-laws, the cover up on a higher level with reinstating him, and he just switched congregations and he's able to go to any kingdom hall he wants, and they will never release that information to the public because we don't have confirmation of that. And then the third strike for me was, remember when the organization put that video out that they were going to start deleting data after like 7 years or something? Your publishing card is like swiped clean and they won't see that you
I
got
don't remember
disfellowshipped.
hearing that. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to find it for you because that was long time ago. Somebody leaked a video of them going over like changes and stuff, and basically it was kind of deleting prior stuff. So I think it was 7 years have passed, everything will be deleted on your card, on your publishing card. So if you go to a different congregation or people who don't know you, they're not going to know that you got reproved, disfellowshipped in 1988 or something. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't keep those records anymore on the cards. So they were making all these changes, right? And when I found that out, and I was just kind of thinking, like, was that move to hide pedophiles and just people in general because they won't see the notes of why you got DF, why you got reproved. Everything will be deleted on this end. I don't know if like headquarters deletes it, but we know of the local congregations they're gonna delete it. So that's what got me realizing that that was like the third or fourth type of cover up, that they're gonna delete your information after a certain amount of time being a JW, and they're not going to know that you were DF'd 10 years ago because you tried to talk to a minor, right? Then I got confirmation of this deletion. So for people out there who don't want to like believe that, I'll see if I could share it with you so that you can see what I'm talking about. But whoever's watching, if you know what I'm talking about, then you know. But for you that you're still questioning that whole thing about the deletion, my own cousin, Tony, when she got reinstated a long time ago and she was going back to the hall, they were going over like her history and stuff with the card because she was a pioneer. She was DF like twice or something, I don't know. And then she came back. And when she's discussing her history, they told her, you weren't disfellowshipped twice. We don't see that here. And they're literally giving her like the Mandela effect that she never got disfellowshipped when she said she did. And she's like, how are you going to tell me how are you going to tell me I was DF during this time? My family shunned me. What are you talking about? And she confirmed it for me that it is true. They deleted certain history because of that time frame. I think it's 7 years. I don't know. But she confirmed it for me because she was like, I know how many times I got disfellowship. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's traumatic for us. We know what we did when we did it because of the impact that it had on our mental health. And they were literally gaslighting her, telling her that that's not true. But she knows that it's true. Okay? So I'm just going to give that out there. If anybody else has an experience, by all means, put it in the comment section, because that just proves our point that this is what the organization is doing to cover stuff up. Right? We already made the parallels.
And to go back to what you said about the Epstein files, are you saying that we can't even trust it 100% because of how long it took basically for them to release it? Like, how do we know like how much of it was not tampered with before it was released, that whole thing? So
Yeah, that's a theory. I don't necessarily believe that. I don't know too much about that.
well, I
What
might have
concern?
yeah, I might have
Yeah,
misunderstood what you said. But that is a theory that I've heard too, that like
it
um
is. It is a theory that's
mm,
circulating, but I don't really believe that because
mm.
I don't even know where to begin on like to rationalize that. So I can't make the comparison in that respect. But I do know that that is a fact within the JW organization.
Well,
They
this is
are deleting stuff.
yeah, and this is what I'm going
Yeah.
with that is like, so some are saying, well, how can we trust everything in the Epstein files because of how long it took for them to release it?
Mhm.
So just with that same train of thought that I've said this before in other videos that these so-called um blue envelopes or list and all that stuff, that
Mhm.
whatever list of pedophiles that they hold, you can't trust
Right.
these people. So say like for example, you think Tony Morris is on one of those lists if he was really doing
Yeah.
what Selena said, like
Right.
um
They could just blot it out. They could
yeah,
erase it. Or they'll
mm,
never write it. They'll never have it there.
that's what I'm saying. Um
Yeah.
but then at the same time I feel that like they could take people off and they can put apostates on that list. Like they can do anything what they want with that list. So I just
Exactly.
want to say to so like some people think the list is like the holy grail of like catching Watchtower. Oh, make them
Yeah.
release the list, but you can't trust these people with a list that they have. It's like they changed the Bible. So if they ever got
Exactly.
forced to put out some sort of database, like they're not going to go
Mhm.
in and take out certain names of people they want to protect, and they could also throw people's
Exactly.
names in there that they just want that they don't like. So you can't trust Watchtower. Um,
Exactly. You can't, which is why I would trust people before I trust any organization or institution. Like the way I'm giving you a firsthand experience. Like I'm not lying to you. I even put the evidence there in my videos. You know what I'm saying? Like I have the receipts to prove what I'm saying, right? So I would believe somebody like me before I believe any supposed list or database. Like I wouldn't even, I mean, I'll take it. Sure. I'll take it. And I will investigate that because that's our duty, our responsibility. But I would be skeptical. So yeah, I agree with you. that's why I think it's important to at least, like you said, have certain people like us in the community who would believe you without questions, without judgment, and be like, "Yep," because we kind of know that this exists, and like help the exposure process. Because after everything was said and done, he was released. He went back to his regular life. He went back to the Kingdom Hall. He went back to normal, but everybody else around was affected. Like me, I was in Florida and I couldn't sleep at night. Like it affected me, even though I'm not, right there dealing with it. But it's hard because you realize how much of a cover up this was, and you can't do nothing about it. Wrong, because you can do something about it, and that's what I did. I did that video, and I had the courage to do that. Like you said earlier, was because other people did it in the community. It was already a thing in the XW community to speak up, to speak out. So that helped with the fear. Like even though he's my uncle, even though the stress of like the JWs that still knew us as a family, they might see it. You know what I'm saying? Like who knows, right? That's what we're supposed to do, because we can't really do much legally. We can't do much in those, in that context. But on the internet, I could post about it. I could do a story about it. I could do a video about it. I went on Reddit and I blew his mugshot everywhere so that everybody was aware of this predator, JW or not. He's a predator regardless, because children are everywhere, if they're JW or not. So that's when I started doing my due diligence. I was calling Kingdom Halls. I was calling police departments. I was calling headquarters. I spoke to them and I told them what's going on here. And I've had multiple conversations with headquarters. I called his local congregation. I tried to call and do everything that I could.
I really
Okay.
think that that first video you're talking about, you should
Mhm.
make it back public because I
Yeah.
think it's a powerful video. It was your first video. It was your introduction to the whole XJW space. And I get um your other videos being gone because you rebrand it. You left that behind you. You don't want to
Yeah.
mix the two. But that one video, it's beyond just XJW. It goes into the whole picture of what the
Mhm.
organization actually is, and again the parallels and how it connects with Epstein. So I think that like that's a powerful video, and
Yeah.
I'm just saying that one video, I think you should make that public.
Yeah. But in the meantime, if you have the link, put it in the description, because anybody who has the link can still see it because it's unlisted. It's not public, but it's unlisted. So I'm gonna figure out a way like how I can do that, because that was the whole purpose of the rebranding, was because I wanted to completely remove myself from that. But for instances like this, I want it to be available for whoever is interested. So I'm gonna send you a couple of links and put it, if you can, put it in the description. And then whoever has that, they have it forever. You know what I'm saying? Like they could see it. But
Yeah,
thank you.
I'll do that. So what I want to say in closing is that everybody can do something with the knowledge you have. So in
Right.
Ruby's case, it was a personal experience that she was able to put out there. In my case, I happen to be an expert at subliminal messages. I didn't know that I was, but it's a skill that I somehow developed. So um,
That's
that's
true.
that's my part, is exposing
Yeah.
how they're planting it in the literature. So whatever you know, I mean, make a YouTube video. If YouTube is not your thing, even if you feel that you don't know what you have to offer or you don't have a personal experience, if anything, share links to the people who are doing it. So I'm not saying it for views, but like if you want to spread this stuff and help us expose it, but you don't have the means to do it, even just taking a video from my page or Ruby's, well, your video is going to be unlisted, but still the link will be there. So I'm just saying that everybody
Right.
can do something, even if it's just supporting the
Yeah.
people who are able to put themselves out there like that. But my whole thing is that I want the organization to be exposed, and shut
Hmm.
down. And I
Yes.
wanted to say this too. So, um, I do sometimes am quick to think channels are controlled opposition and things like that. But I do want to
Yeah.
say this that there are diversions, and whether people are conscious from it or not, they're diversions. Like to me, Toni Morrison in the liquor store was nothing but a diversion against something else. Who cares if he's drinking? But
Right.
another diversion, and I might get some slack from this, but I'm gonna say it anyway, is that I honestly think the whole Norway thing is a huge diversion because so many XJWs are obsessed with Norway and the verdict and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And this is gonna kind of sound rude the way I'm saying it, but I'm just being honest about it, is that
Mhm.
headquarters is not in Norway. Most of us don't live in Norway. Who cares if how they treat disfellowship people? Like, that's not going to do anything. It's not going to fix anything. That's only going to affect current Jehovah's Witnesses who may get disfellowshipped. How they treat this, whatever's going on in Norway. So, to me, I think it's such a distraction. Like, I kind of feel like the governing body and those who run them, I feel like they're kind of laughing at the XJW community sometimes because it's like, we're so worried
Mhm.
about Norway, some verdict. That's not going to do anything. If you want to shut these people down, you have to expose the darkness of what they really are. So, I
Right, but let me like piggyback on that. It's because I don't necessarily think that the entire thing is a diversion or distraction, but it's more about what we should be taking out of it, which is all of the evidence that was provided, which is how the headquarters tried to delete that shunning video. That's the evidence. Those are the receipts of their behavior. There's a track record, there's a pattern, there's messages in these proceedings, in these things. That's what we should be looking at so that we can continue the exposure, back to where we were. It's like, okay, thank you. Thank you for your help, Norway, where they did do good. But let's go back to the main, the main thing of what we're trying to do. And because all of that is noise, but sometimes it's good noise because now we have receipts of what they did in this situation. Whereas we wouldn't have that if the government didn't push them to do something, which just proves our point as XJWs of this is what they do. It's just at a bigger level. Us, we're little ants. You're little people. It's easy to squish us, but they can't squish a government inquiry. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's good, but it's more so what we take out of it. And that's what you need to expose because they do violate human rights. They do, cover up pedophilia. They do these things, but nobody really knows about it because you're so stuck on all of the other pork. You know what I'm saying? Like it's got to get down to the meat of it and expose that, the violations, the cover up, which is the exact same thing we want with Epstein. But what do we continue to get? Distractions, nothing burgers. You get fluff. You get, Trump saying something outrageous, and that's another distraction. You get the infighting, that's another distraction. Whereas all we want is just for those people to be put in jail. That's it. That's all we want. We don't want the government to collapse. We don't want to like overthrow the government. We don't want to see the system all crushed down. No, we just want those bad apples to be in jail. That's it. Like, why is that so hard, right? But it's a slow process where we're the ones who have to do that with our voice, with our vote, with our exposure, etc. That's where the magic happens. This is how it gets done. We talk about it. People share it. People engage, comment, like, subscribe. That engagement pushes it to the algorithm. Other people see it. People who probably would have never even thought about clicking on something and just watching it because they got interested or the conversation captivated them or whatever. That's what keeps the ball rolling. More people see it, they hear it, then hopefully they can see the truth for themselves. They do their own research. That's the whole point of what we're doing. That's
yeah,
what we can do.
and let me try to summarize better what I was saying too. Is another way to say it is
Mhm.
that like the Norway stuff is not getting any of the governing body or the leaders of Watchtower in
Right.
prison. It's not
It's
going
a
to
dead
do it.
end. Yeah.
But
Yep.
if we focus on, like, here's the thing, I think the governing body and those who run them have done things that should land them in prison. So
Right.
I guess that's where I'm coming from is I want to get these people arrested, like the Epstein people.
Right.
I want them to have
Right.
criminal charges pressed on them, where the Norway verdict is not going to do a damn thing, and that's all that I'm saying.
Right.
And I know
Exactly.
sometimes I think what it is just like my strategy is completely different. So I'm really think like I'm really trying to get them shut down, arrested. So for me,
Right.
it's like I see this other stuff as like nothing but a distraction because it's not gonna bring any justice to these people, But
Right, right. No, I agree with you. Yeah, but it's just your perspective.
yeah,
That's once you because you can have that perspective and also another one. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Like you can have both and try to reconcile them
mm,
together because we're never going to get exactly what we want. We're never going, you're like, I doubt that we will ever see a major arrest or a major conviction or something. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have to celebrate the little wins. You have to, savor those moments because it goes into record, it goes into a public, legit court documented record where you can show people, well, look what they did here, look what they did here. And that
mm.
and that and I agree with you on that because that's exactly how I felt with the settlements. That did nothing. That barely okay, it got the perpetrator arrested, but who was the one who facilitated it? Who was complicit? The elders who knew about it. Like there's a bigger web. They just got the fall guy. They got the guy. Great, congratulations. But the settlement ended it right there. Nobody else got arrested, convicted. Nobody else got subpoenaed. Nobody else got, you know what I'm saying? So I feel the exact same way with that because I felt so unsatisfied when those things were getting settled and it went nowhere. But at least now we can say, look, there was a settlement. Like there's another side to it. They settled, which means they could very well be guilty because
Most
they
likely, yeah.
settled. They didn't want you to look. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you change your perspective and you realize, like, great, they did a settlement because now it opens up another door that there's a possibility that they were guilty and they settled so they don't continue digging. And that theory of mine got confirmed 1,000% when the governing body released that video on the broadcasting saying the exact same thing. And I don't know his name. I forgot who it was, but it was one of the members or the helpers. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to confirm this with you, later on. But he said, just because we settle out of court doesn't mean the organization is guilty. He literally said that word for word. And I'm gonna have to find the clip for you because when I saw that,
No,
that was confirmation
I
for
did
me.
see that.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I can't remember if I was a
Great.
JW when I heard that or I was already out. I
Yeah.
can't, but I did. Yeah, I remember that.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's like if you know what I'm talking about, then you understand what I'm saying. When I saw that, that was it for me. That was it. That solidified everything, every theory I've ever had, every doubt that I've ever had, and threw it out the window because I was like, why would they say that? Why would they take the time out on a broadcasting, supposedly a religious broadcasting, to talk about God and the Bible? Why in the world would they address something that has nothing to do with what they're doing on the broadcast, right? Right? Because according to them, it has nothing to do with. So why are you talking about it? People like me and you have these little confirmations that what we see, what we hear, what's going on, because we're in it, that's what confirms these theories for us. That's what makes me believe that we made the right decision by leaving that cult. That makes me believe that these little wins, take them, celebrate them, because it's going to take a long time to take $1 billion cult down. It's going to take a long time.
We are not
So,
just that. One more final thought I want to
yeah.
just add is that the reason I think they get away with stuff is because if my information is right, then they're connected with the Illuminati and
Mhm.
high degree Freemasons. So it's a network, and I think that's why Watchtower has been protected in a lot of situations. So
Exactly.
so you're
Exactly.
not just
So it's
going
so
after
it's like even if
Watchtower,
we
you're going
wanted
after the
to.
whole, yeah. It wa
Exactly.
it can
Exactly.
happen. It's not something that's easy to do. Um, but going
Exactly.
back to what you mentioned earlier, I do think there is a spiritual warfare, and that's where
Yeah.
we have the power to beat these people because of the unseen stuff in the spirit realm that we don't see. Um,
Exactly. I believe that. I mean, like we spoke about this off camera, but like I'm a Christian now. And those beliefs, those theories that I used to have, even like as an atheist or agnostic, it just kind of became a little bit more real for me because I actually believe in that now. You know what I'm saying? And I believe it in a different way. It's more serious, it's more concrete, it's more biblical, it's more like these are end times,
and I just want to
but
say,
in a good way. Yeah.
I'll cut you off with that because there'll be
Mhm.
an upcoming video
Yeah.
uh with a panel we're going to discuss spirituality and beliefs and things like that. So yeah,
This
I'll
is
have
a
you see
perfect
that.
segue, though. This
Yeah,
is perfect segue
yeah,
because we could end it here, and then when we do that panel, go watch that. You know what I'm saying? Like whoever's watching this in the future, watch the panel interview because that's where I'm gonna lead in eventually. You know what I'm saying? Like all conversations eventually lead up to that topic where a lot of people really don't talk about, especially in our community. We don't really go that far. We just say, "Oh, believe whatever you want to believe, and that's it." Like I respect your beliefs, but don't talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm glad you're doing that so that we have a chance to talk about it.
yeah, and it's gonna be a balanced panel. So it's gonna be some like Ruby mentioned who are Christian, and some such as
Mhm.
myself who I don't believe in the Bible, but I still respect the Bible to a certain extent, and I respect people's beliefs. So we're just gonna have a conversation with different beliefs, and it's not gonna be a debate. We all respect each other, and I think having a conversation about religion where we're not attacking each other is gonna be very powerful um panel because most of the time those things just turn into a debate and everybody wants to try to prove something. So nothing really
Exactly.
gets really talked about. It's just the debate. But we're gonna have just a powerful conversation. And one segue I want to mention too is that we're gonna talk about when we're Jehovah's Witnesses, all of us had experiences where our prayers were answered. So we're going to talk
Mhm.
about that because what was going on, right? I mean, how many times did Jehovah answer our prayer, right? And some
Exactly.
JWs stay in because they're like, but I know this is the truth because Jehovah, he listened, he did this for me. And some stay in because of that. So we're going to
Exactly.
discuss what's really going on with that situation, plus other beliefs. So yeah, join us again when we have that
Awesome.
video.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Quinn, for having me and for inviting me for that video too, because that is super, super great and interesting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and
We
thank you
can't wait.
always for coming on. You're always welcome on my channel.
All right. See you soon.
I wanna know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I wanna know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Pure energy.